Welcome everybody to the Atropa Movement, episode 4. So episode 4, it's a good time to be in the Atropa Movement. Everything is pumping like crazy at the moment. So we have with us Maddie Crypto Charla, who did one of the famous interviews with Maria in Amsterdam. It was a really good interview, Maddie. I've listened to it several times, and it's anything to do with Maria's interviews is like you got to listen to it again and again and again to really wrap your head around it. So the dysnomia, wrapping my head around that. So good to see you, man. And of course, we got Mr. Sunny Day, one of the goats of the ecosystem. So what's going on, lads?
Good day, brothers. Good day, Pulse Chain.
Yeah, man. Good day, Pulse Chain. Good day. Everything, really. I mean, Pulse Chain's phenomenal, but yes, it's great to be alive, isn't it? So how's everyone's bags looking? How's their feels about the Atropa? What's going on with you, Maddie? How's everything with your end of the woods?
I would say I'm pretty damn relaxed. I haven't feel that relaxed for quite a while, since obviously my bag has been pumping extremely the last couple of weeks, and I've never been in that position that I am right now. That feels very good. Feels like the belief and let's say all the digging and all the investigation paid out. And I'm not just talking about money, I'm talking about like certainty. And now that certainty is there, and now there's people like Somi pumping the narrative, it's a whole different vibe. I mean, we remember when we did this, the Atropa #1, and yeah, people knew about it, but it was not like right now. There was not one cent like yet verified, and I feel like, yeah, man, it's just the beginning, but it feels great.
I definitely feel you on that, man. It's like, you know, when things are going down, it definitely challenges your mindset, but still you're looking at what's happening on the blockchain and you have your convictions and you're like, okay, I really believe in this, but of course it's going down, and I'm like trying to tell all my friends about it, and of course no one's listening until now. Everything's rocketing and everyone's like, oh, Steve, oh, we got so many more people joining. I'm gonna add everyone to stage, so let's greet everyone. So Stewie, what's going on, man?
Not much, buddy. How about you? Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you very well, man. How's it going?
Doing wonderful. How about you guys? How you guys doing today?
Everyone, I'll speak for myself. I feel fantastic. So I think everyone feels the same.
Hey, green season, everyone's happy, right? When it's red, we're all at each other's throats. That's how it is.
Yeah, man. Sure, for sure. Bud, what's going on, man? This is the first time that you've jumped on stream. I'm not sure that I've ever met you before. How's it going?
Going well. How are you?
Yeah, very good, man. How are you? Whereabouts are you from?
I'm in the U.S.
Nice. And so you've been in the Atropa ecosystem for a while?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes, I have. I've been in the Hex ecosystem since day one.
You look very familiar. You're a Hex streamer?
No.
No. Okay.
I don't stream. I don't stream. Just been around a long time. Been in this space for since 2015.
Nice. So Hex OG day one, Pulse day one.
Claimed it off my Bitcoin. Yeah.
Claimed it off your
Richard.
Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Found Richard when he was CNBC Africa. His first outing.
With would that have been with Ran?
Yes.
Wow. Oh, nice, man. And if you don't mind me asking, because you're one of I've spoken to all the other guys before, but I've never spoken to you before. What got you into the Atropa ecosystem?
I started watching your stuff, honestly, and kind of dove into it. I dismissed it when I first heard of it, and it's a fault of mine. It's a flaw that I have. I've missed a few things because I've just not done the research. When I started doing the research, I saw the power of the movement. Pretty heavy in the Atropa system now. See a lot of potential in it. Been through multiple cycles here. And I see a lot of the same stuff I saw in Hex early. a little too much exuberance, a little too much excitement, a little too much date calling. And I think that that could lead to people to cheat and get out of the community. It's hard to not be excited and say things that you hope to come true, but I would advise people to scale that back and let it happen. I watch a lot of St. Wolf stuff. I really enjoyed his content with Decentralized Me. What I didn't enjoy about it was that it's going to peg by January, that Richard will vote. You know, there's a lot of things in the space that people need to take into account. You know, we still have the looming lawsuit with the SEC. Richard, my opinion is Richard won't do anything until that is clear of him. So we don't know when the conclusion of that's going to be. The other thing, we're waiting on a liquidity event from the United States government. Looking at charts, that could be March, that could be June, I don't know. But the system's not going to run heavy until we get a liquidity event. So
What do you mean liquidity event? Sorry.
Well, all right. So if you look at charts, I'm into cattle, let's say. Go and pull a long chart on cattle, LE1. All right. You can see in 2020 the liquidity that came into the market. There's a channel that was built coming all the way into, I believe it was September of 23. At that point, the liquidity in the world, M2, is starting to dry up, right? And then we start to build a pennant off of that channel, and we haven't been able to exit that. And the reason we haven't exited it is we need more money to inflate commodities. The world is starting to run lower on liquidity. And you can see this in emerging markets. You can see it in China. You know, they're going through a lot over there. They just had a $200 billion bond issuance in Saudi Arabia. They are scrambling for dollars, right? And with high interest rates and debts, you're going to see emerging markets come under pressure, a lot of pressure. And the Federal Reserve is going to have to start cutting in order to get the kind of debt forgiveness, basically, to the emerging markets. And you're going to have that happen. You're going to have interest rates lower, and then the United States government will do some sort of quantitative easing. They won't call it that because they've already used it. They'll come up with some new term, right? But they will inject capital. You know, Raoul Pal says this. He expects the Fed's balance sheet to go from like 8 trillion to 14 trillion, right? So you're going to see a bunch of money be printed. And where is that money going to go? It's going to go where it's treated best, right? That's crypto. That's the NASDAQ. You know, that's the highest performing assets. So I would just advise people that are promoting the system to slow down just a little bit and let the capital come. As you see the charts rise, like pDAI and Atropa, that money is going to move through the entirety of the Atropa system. You can see it in money flows, right? So the rest of the Atropa system rises, which helps set a new floor, right? So we're going to need a lot of money to come in. And as the Atropa system builds and is able to support pDAI, USDC, PUSDT, right? Then potentially we can start to see Richard do things. But if you have this idea that Richard's going to communicate with this smart contract that was, or this front end that was introduced to the MakerDAO, don't hang your hopes on that. You know, Richard has a lot in front of him, right? I saw this with the early Hexagon movement, where there was a big push, get people in, get them in, get them in. And then people in the community started dumping on their heads, right? So allow people to come in, don't give them time frames, explain how the money flows through the system, right? And it's all going to stabilize. The Atropa system will be the greatest thing, right? If we get to the dollar and then we can get the Maker DAO collateralized, that's going to be the emergence of the decentralized world, right? So I just hope it's my opinion, we will do more good in the world if we slow down and we don't start putting expectations that none of us have any control over out there to the general public.
Do you know what? I want to go around and ask everybody about their opinions on what you've just said, because a lot of what you just said, I completely agree with. I think when I was hearing Decentralized Me put out this, December, January, it just seemed unrealistic, one, and it also seemed like it wasn't sustainable for the long-term health of the ecosystem based on what I was seeing with the Atropa ecosystem, and this being like a liquidity backing for pDAI. It made no sense for it just to go to $1 tomorrow or like next month for pDAI to do that. So I like the idea of it being long and slow, but I think everyone, with our greed, we want things, we want it now, we want it tomorrow, we want to be millionaires tomorrow. But in terms of the long-term health of the whole ecosystem and the whole blockchain, for it to go up sustainably makes a lot more sense for me. So the whole idea of delayed gratification, and I really like how you've got the parallels between this and Hex, and I can see it all over Twitter as well. I can see people just being like way too bullish, and I can feel it myself as well. But it's like, okay, whoa, let's just slow down and take it easy, because I like the idea as well of we don't want to pull people in with those expectations and then they end up leaving because those expectations weren't matched as well. So yeah, a lot of that stuff that you just said, I really agree with. I'd like to go around and see what everybody has an opinion on what Bud just said. I thought that was really eloquently put. We'll start with you, Maddie. Anything that you want to add to that? You're on mute, Maddie. Maddie, you're on mute.
Sorry, excuse me for the retard show. Sorry. I was just saying that I always said that I don't have any time expectations, or that I don't give any dates out where I'm saying like, oh, it's going to happen in November or it's going to happen in January or stuff like that. I think it's not a good idea. You're just deceiving people that there is no certainty here. No, this is all speculative. I feel like it's getting to a point. Yes, we have a lot of data, a lot of facts from what happened on the blockchain. But I'm agreeing with the fact that it's not a good idea to put expectations on Richard's actions determining what he's going to do or not going to do. Like, that's not a good idea. I'm not criticizing Decentralized here. It's everybody has their own opinion. No, I wouldn't do it. I'm not saying that Richard's going to do it right now. I actually rather think he's not going to do anything right now, to be honest. Because if not, it's just going to be not sustainable. It's going to be how it would be not sustainable, because people would cash out billions.
Yeah,
that's reality. And if it's not a slower process where people cash out in the process of going up, it's going to be very tough to keep a peg. So it needs to be at a certain stage, obviously sustainable. Plus, what you're saying about the money printer, yes, we need more than money printer. We need that the Fed puts on the money printer. Obviously, it always has been like this. There's a correlation between the debt rates, how much we have to pay for taking a credit, how much money is being printed, and how much growth is in stocks and in crypto. Undeniably. I'm agreeing with that one too. Obviously, macroeconomics have a huge influence. But having said that, I'm also not like fudding right now and saying, oh, it's going to take 10 years to get pDAI to a peg neither. I don't think that neither. Will it take a month or two? I think that's very optimistic. That's for me already like, all right, you little too much of drinking your own Kool-Aid, you know? And we don't. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm already comfortable with the prices right now. Like, I guess like for the luxury for the people that really believed in the system is you're already in a pretty good financial situation right now.
Yeah.
So why do you need to super FOMO it? And then people might buy the local top and sell a local bottom again. And that's a danger, realistically. So I am a true believer. I think we're heading to the moon, but how long it's going to take, I don't really care. It doesn't really change my conviction so far to me.
I love that. I love the calmness that you have as well about the health of your portfolio. And I think as well, as it goes up sustainably, more and more people are going to start to see what it means for the liquidity to flow around the whole system. And instead of thinking of this one way in, one way out, this old crypto mentality of let's just get as much liquidity out of the system as possible so I can buy my Lambo or my mansion, people are going to see, hang on a minute, I can actually benefit in the long term by staying within the system. That's what I'm seeing here. So the more that people start to investigate and dig deep and go on the block explorer, see the liquidity paths, the routes, the ratios, it's like, okay, it actually is like a long-term thing that I can benefit way more in the long term if I have that mindset rather than just quickly take it out now. So yeah, thanks, Maddie. Sonny, what about your perspective on what's been said?
No expectation from the work of others, period. I'm going to go back to what I've said for over a year, right? Like, Pulse Chain doesn't need any of us. Atropa doesn't need any of us. Everything to peg doesn't need any of us. It will happen on its own just through liquidity and through arbitrage. Us giving it volume helps that for sure, right? Every time we trade, it's a little tiny fee, it's a little bit more liquidity. Honestly, I haven't even looked at the maker. Yeah, I'm not interested in it whatsoever. It's not part of what I see in this game. My game is liquidity paths, and I see those paths. And now the Atropa has actually gone up with DAI and with BTC, and there's a $250 million valuation company there. Like, I see how it all works and how it grows, and these dollar signs, they're all fake anyway, right? Market cap's fake, dollar signs are fake. It's all about the percentage of the token that's in liquidity and or what can be dumped. And most of Atropa ecosystem is in liquidity, like a lot of it. It may or may not be real money, but it's in liquidity and growing liquidity.
Yeah, and being able to find as well, if you're like new to the ecosystem, finding the right kind of paths to go down and finding the liquidity that you want to be a part of as well. That's something that's been a real revelation for me with all of Pulse Chain actually being a liquidity provider and actually changing that mindset of getting the passive income that is going to last for as long as Pulse Chain lasts. I really like that idea. And there's so many, there'd be thousands of liquidity pools within just the Atropa ecosystem. pDAI has over 1,200. So just finding the right ones. I was talking about it yesterday on the stream. Like, if you do pDAI and P wrapped Bitcoin, there was Todd on the stream yesterday was saying that he's plus on both sides. So there's no such thing as impermanent loss when there's so much volume going through those pools. So these are the opportunities that I'm seeing that I want to start to dig deeper into, and it just takes like a little bit of investigating. So Stewie, what about yourself? Any comments on what's been said? Anything that you'd like to add?
Well, honestly, most of it's been kind of said here. Don't expect anything. It's pretty much the main thing. And anyone who's telling you to say that, hey, he's going to do this, this is what's going to happen, that's probably the wrong time to be telling anyone to buy in and stuff like that, because, most of us that knew what was going to happen preach at the lows, usually how it goes. But, it's just one of those things that people get caught up in the hype. They think that it's going to happen because it's there. Kind of like what everyone said here, it's not going to happen. He's not going to do it. Like, delayed gratification is what he's spoken of from the get-go. And we're, a year in, almost 2 years. I'll be honest, I'm actually surprised everything went as high as it did. But that just kind of goes to show you how thin the liquidity actually is and how much it actually takes to push the market up. Right? So if we were to go to $1 in December, oh yeah, there would be a lot of people that'd be able to clean a lot of people out right at the top, and that would actually put a bad taste in the chain's mouth, and that's not what we want. We actually want to show people that, like what Sonny's saying, is liquidity providing is actually the way through this at the end of the day. You know, like that passive income is pretty much what everyone wants at the end of the day. You don't want to be sitting on your computer trading all day, looking at the charts, this and that. You want to literally just know that what your money is doing is working for you and walk away. And just know that the math is doing its job. And since I found this chain, that's literally been the best gift that this thing has taught me, is that I literally just, you know, up and down. Like, it's nice to look at my portfolio right now. It's awesome. I'm sure everyone's so happy. But you know what? Like, when the down days come, it gets really uncomfortable. So, you know, you got to find that balance.
Yeah, I love that. And in terms of, I mean, I just put out a tweet today, and I mean, I know that when Peter was here, I was saying I feel like this is a local top, and I put out a tweet just before this stream. I was saying I'm seeing signs that it looks like we're getting very close to a local top. People won't like that. The ones who just want the dollar tomorrow, they're not going to like that. But I actually like that, again, from the perspective of also like other people being able to join the party. All the people now who've just started to wake up to this. We have Matty Allen, we have Hexologist. People are starting to wake up to this. Somi's just gotten into it. I want them. I want these guys who are going to be believers buying down here and becoming one with the system. That's what I really like the idea of. And I mean, again, just thinking in terms of individual tokens going up. If you look at this chart, they're both going up and to the right. I think I've got it here. Is this the Atropa? Yeah, the Atropa pair, the Atropa and pDAI. I mean, this is on the daily because I'm looking at this for signs of like a reversal. So just for me, I was showing this on stream. I feel like this could be a reversal. If we start to see the liquidity flow back into Atropa from DAI, then it could be a sign for reversal. But if you look at the volume on this, it's like 4.3 million volume. So if you've got Atropa and you've got pDAI, instead of looking at it like, okay, when's it going to hit $1? Look at it like, if I'm putting this in liquidity, I'm just cleaning up, and they're both going up and to the right. So when I look at this in like a year's time, maybe I've put in whatever, I've put in 1 million pDAI and however much Atropa that is. And by the end of that, I might have 2 million pDAI and then double the Atropa side as well. And then you might look at that and go, well, hang on a minute. I've just doubled all of this just from just sitting in there in a year. Like, do I really want to just sell all this now and destroy the ecosystem? It's like, yeah, just that mindset shift, I think, is really, really key and really important. So awesome. All right, Stu, I know in the Telegram you were mentioning that you wanted to talk about some of the new tokens.
Well, actually, I think it's pretty interesting what Maria's doing. She's picked a bunch of people to mint the CDC2, which is, I guess, like a new version, the new nuke, someone's calling it. There's an ODO token, which I mean, it's got some crazy stuff behind it. Definitely bigger than what I see. I know I probably wouldn't be able to explain that, but it's pretty cool to be a part of it. The fact that Maria's kind of let me be a part of it, and I think that's been that's awesome. You know what? That's actually a blessing more than less. Like, you know, I guess you work so hard at something, and then you kind of just, you know, give a chance to kind of prove that you want to be part of the system, and they let you be a part of it. And you know what? I have no intention but making sure that I grow this community as much as I can.
Do you want to share how you were able to, or how that opportunity came about, and how that happened?
Honestly, posted my wallet in the IRC chat, and that was it.
Okay, nice. So you posted your wallet.
But I mean, who's to say that they didn't pick and choose? I don't know. I just don't want everyone flooding their wallet. It's just, who knows, man. All I know is that you either have a choice to say, hey, I'm gonna wreck the system and take the money they gave me, and then basically give a bad name to yourself, or you can kind of prove that you're here for everyone and you kind of want to, you know, build everything out and you give a damn about everything, right?
Nice. Yes, totally agree. So the IRC, I might post the link actually in the description, or not in the chat rather. So actually, I'll be very curious to see if I'm not gonna. So here's the.
Yeah, just post the link. I wouldn't open it up. Just if people want to go look at it, I'd kind of leave it at that.
Sure. There we go. So the link, if you want to look at that, I might just have a quick look at some of these comments. So Vibra, what's going on, man? What's going on, Adam? Thinking about streaming tonight, but now I can relax and soak in the alpha. So much love, member of the community. A1A to $100. Nice. Clintrons, what's going on, man? Labano, what's going on? Oh, Labano, 777. I wonder if this is a Freedom 777. We got McNuggets, what's going on? Good morning, my lovers. Hello, Zone. BFFs that the light. I mean, it's been pretty good to see the performance of BFF. We struggled with BFF to get to that 8K mark. And now once we've gotten to that 8K mark, I mean, it's double. It's done a 2X on the 8K mark. And again, it's like, I keep trying to share this with my friends, and they're looking at it. When you really start to dig into the system and understand what's actually going on, when Maria's talking about the next target being 40K and then the target after that being $1 million, it doesn't seem outside of the realms of possibility. The way that it moved from here to 8K was you're seeing it happen all across the chain right now with all these PRC20s. The liquidity is so thin, and you can balloon it up really, really quickly. And then the way that Maria can kind of do things and shift things around, and people just holding it's not outside of the realms of possibility for this to just continue to go up. And yeah, there's literally an abundance of opportunities with the Atropa ecosystem. So FOMO, don't FOMO, Zone, don't FOMO. Keep calm, keep composed, don't FOMO. I just on that, and this is not financial advice, but what I've been telling my friends that I do, because they're asking me like, oh, should I buy now? What should I buy? And I'm like, honestly, it's very hard because it feels so toppy. We had Ivan on Tech, just FOMO by pDAI. It's like, okay, this is feeling quite toppy to me. And so I wouldn't be putting my whole bag in. I would just put in a little bit in case it continues to go. And then if it continues to go, well, at least you got yourself a position. If it pulls back, okay, you got yourself a better position. But also like shifting the mindset of like, okay, yeah, you want to get that optimum position, but at the same time, it's like thinking long term. If this is going to $1, if Atropa goes way past the mark, when pDAI gets to $1, by the way, it creates a new floor for Atropa, and it can just keep going up forever because this is going up with it. So that if this stays here, then Atropa is not going to start moving down, because pDAI is like, I mean, it can move down because people sell, but it's really going to create this heavy new floor that Atropa can just launch from. So I'm just thinking long term. Okay, yes, you want to maximize your gains and all that, but just thinking long term, and the delayed gratification is something that I really want people to really for their own benefit, man. So hello everyone, what's going on, Team Crypto? Sup fam? Orez, what's going on, man? A day in crypto feels like a week, you never know. Yes, exactly. And on that as well, the weekly charts, the weekly candles, zoom out, guys. All the top investors in the world are always looking on the weekly. If you're looking on the day on the hourly, it's like you'll shit your own pants just based on candles. But if you zoom out on the weekly, you can see things are much more gentle, and you can be much more calm about your approach. So bang bang, Pulse Gang. Hey, Frank White, what's going on? Frank White, you've got an awesome link. You've got an awesome website with all the links. Feel free to post it in the chat there. When Atropa talk. I thought we've been talking about Atropa this whole time, but I'm not sure. What's going on, Matt? I've never seen Bud before, but he's a smart. I totally agree. Yeah, totally agree. So, Bud's still here. Good. Yep. Awesome. I totally agree. So, can I ask you, Bud? How long did it? At what point? So you said you were a little bit slow. If you don't mind me asking, at what point did the penny drop for you with Atropa, and what was the penny drop for you?
When was the penny drop? Well, I'd seen some of Hodlnomics stuff. I saw B Roots talk about it. Started watching some of your content, some of the earlier stuff. I guess when I started really following 9iron Capital and started seeing the on-chain movement, that's when it started to hit home. And like I said, I was around for the first Hex run up, and I watched the FOMO happen, and then I watched the catastrophe after. Fortunately for me, I had staked, right? I had pulled profit, I'd gotten back everything I'd ever put in, and then I'd staked out. So that kept me from jeeting my own bags, right? But what I've noticed with the Atropa system is the way that the money flows through it. And I watched, the BFF and Atropa and all of those tokens move up. And we got to a certain level, and then I started to see the liquidity coming into like Mantisa and then into USDT. And if you notice, and I don't know this for sure, but I would attribute the EHEX pump to liquidity flow through the Atropa system, right? So that tells me that it's gaining strength, it's building a floor, right? And this is my theory on that is after that first run up, and I heard Richard come out and just scald people when they started spending money on like Hex race cards. And then I watched in the sacrifice phase where groups of hexagons, OG hexagons, right, were getting together and manipulating price of Hex because that's what people were using to sacrifice. So they run up the price, get that day one, and then they smash it down so nobody could compete with them, right? And I think at that point, this is my own theory, just I don't communicate with anybody about this stuff, but I believe that Richard knew at that point that he needed in Pulse Chain, he needed something that would act as a stabilizer. And somehow or another, Maria came about and built the Atropa system. And so when we do see corrections, we're not seeing these dramatic drawdowns and these people manipulating markets and ripping the value out, and people who come in at the wrong point lose in every and all opportunity, right? So just by watching the charts, watching the money, watching the movement on chain, seeing all of these things is what made me get in on the heavy in pDAI and throughout the Atropa system. So this has been a fantastic run. I think Pulse Chain has the potential to become the premier blockchain for the decentralized finance world. But I don't hear enough, like I said, and this is just my opinion, but I've been through 3 or 4 cycles now where I see the FOMO start and it's exciting and it's fun. But then I've also seen people that I've brought into cryptocurrency completely leave and lose all opportunity, right? Now, hopefully with the Atropa system working, we won't see such dramatic drawdowns, but there's no guarantee to that.
That's definitely one of the things that I've been investigating, that it seems like the Atropa ecosystem protects the downside of all of Pulse Chain. Whether or not it does, we're gonna find out in the bear market, but it seems like it is like this defensive mode. And even showing like the liquidity flows here, I just saw this. I've been watching this particular chart. So this is Teddy Bear and EHEX. I mean, you can see there was a moment, I know, where Maria took profit into, or swapped into Hex, and it was like this kind of like little FUD event. And I was like, oh, that's great. Like the liquidity in EHEX is growing. And I think what I really like about this idea as well is EHEX has really dropped, and I hope it doesn't rub anyone the wrong way here, but it's almost like the people who have maybe switched to PHEX and switched out of EHEX are the ones who are like really chasing the Lamborghinis and the mansions. And yeah, I don't know, like it's almost like a good thing the way that things have happened. Things have happened like really, really quite perfectly. So yeah, so the seeing the way that the liquidity is flowing in the different charts is like really what's making me extremely confident in the system.
Yeah, I would just add that, you know, when everybody was emergency unstaking their EHEX because of Richard's post that the market decided. But if you look at Richard's actions, he never sold any EHEX, right? Richard didn't dump his own bags. All those guys took what he said as if that's the end of EHEX. Well, if it was the end of EHEX, wouldn't Richard just eliminate his bags? He didn't. Why did he not do that? You can go to almost any stream Richard ever did. He wants to see expensive hex on all chains, right? And if you're going to merge, if you're going to come across the bridge, wouldn't it make sense to have parity in the hex price? That to me makes the most sense. So it's going to take time for that capital to flow, but everybody who emergency unstaked harmed themselves immeasurably, right? This is just my opinion. Time will prove whether I'm right or wrong. But, you know, Ethereum is the base chain. That's where everybody goes. You want to make that move from ETH to Pulse chain easy, and Parity is what's going to do that.
What's your opinion on the BankX holdings? Is that something that makes you a bit nervous about EHEX, or how does that make you feel? What's your opinion on that?
That doesn't bother me even a little bit, right? Like, what are they going to do? Dump? So what, right? It's going to get absorbed. I mean, you have players like Maria who said that when PDAI gets, or I'm sorry, PUSDT gets to $1, he's going to take $120-something million and buy Hex. Now, he was talking about PHEX, but he's going to take that money and put it to work, right, in the Hex system. And I believe that as the liquidity flows through the Atropa system, you're going to see EHEX continue to run up just through those RBOTs. And it's going to start buying and burning more. And it's just going to work. And EHEX will, it might not be this year. It might not be 2026, might be 27. But you will see parity. So I never sold any of mine. I didn't unstake a single thing. Because I think if I was Richard, I wouldn't try to screw myself out of my bag.
Yeah, it always seemed crazy to me that one of the visions of Pulse Chain was to create this playground of all these tokens that are at parity that people can come along and participate in, and the main one, which is Hex, which this was even created for in the first place, would be like not at parity. Then if that's not at parity, then the whole idea just falls apart. It never made sense to me. And I always read the tweet exactly the same as you. I read it like, well, Richard literally just said things as they are. He didn't tell anyone to sell, and the market's like extremely irrational and overreading what he said. And I think also the people who probably the people who position themselves to advantage the most out of that were the ones who were probably screaming the loudest all over Twitter about you know, how he's fighting it. I mean, they're the ones that would have profited the most from probably that tweet as well. So I put out a tweet yesterday of like, really be careful about who you're listening to. Really see the intentions behind their words. Are you listening to them and they're benefiting you, or are they benefiting themselves? You can really see the intention behind people's words, and which team is this person in, and they're fudding pDAI. It's like, okay, well, wow, I wonder why they're fudding pDAI. Is it because they have your interests at heart, or is it because they have their interests at heart? So really starting to develop that self-awareness as well of like who actually is here for the whole and who's here for themselves. And I want to help everyone, but I want to be connected with people who are here for the whole, not here for themselves. I'm not interested really in talking I don't really want those people in this ecosystem, to be completely honest, unless their mindsets shift. So
well, I would refer you to, I can't remember if it was Crypto Sparbuck's interview with Maria or if it was the dissertation that he gave. But Maria said if EHEX and PHEX don't pair, then the Atropa system didn't work.
Yeah, I think that was
the presentation. That was in the presentation. Yeah,
the Amsterdam presentation wasn't that podium.
He got a podium question in the presentation. What he thinks about EHEX and hex parity, and he said if that doesn't work, then nothing's going to work. Then the whole chain is doomed. That was his response. So he's definitely a pretty firm believer in it. And I'm agreeing to what all you guys say, because it doesn't make at all sense to like say we peg Bitcoin, we peg I don't know what, and we don't peg hex, which has been the original asset of the whole system. So logically, in my opinion, people have been fudding it in German community too, and afterwards a lot of them were like still fudding it. And obviously you could price-wise argue still, or it can go even lower, in my opinion. And I think X is alive said that. Just look at what ETH Classic did. And yeah, ETH Classic in the first circle when the fork happened got to parity more than one time. So just comparing that, there's not a lot of arguments why you would kill your own asset. That's the first thing that people would see if they look into you, would be a hex on Ethereum. And if that's completely fucked, then why would people be like, hey, let's go to this chain? Like, that's not a marketing tool. So in my opinion, there's no reasons to say that EHEX should die. It's one of the worst narratives out there.
Yeah, and it's had a big pump from the bottom, 50% pump. So, and if you look at this here, this movement from teddy bear to hex, that liquidity is flowing. I mean, this is just one particular pool, but yeah, that liquidity is flowing into EHEX. So there's people that are seeing the whole of this ecosystem, not just what I hold, but how is this going to benefit the whole of the ecosystem? That's what I'm seeing with all of this whole ecosystem. And even on that, before I ask you guys for more opinions, there's a lot of comments in here about this token or that token. Can we look at this token again? I really want to challenge you guys to really look beyond the individual token and what that token means in just upward price momentum and then taking profit. If you want to talk about the token, if you want me to talk about the tokens, happy to talk about them in other streams and maybe even later, but really start to do some digging for yourself. Use this website here, Liquidity Pools Versal.app. See for yourself, start to really wrap your head around what's actually happening here when you actually put a token contract in here. So for example, someone's talking about GBaby. Someone's asking about GBaby. Put the GBaby contract in here. See. So this is BFF. No, this is freebies. This was something someone was asking me on Twitter. Just have a look. What's actually happening? Why is it actually going up? And then you start to look at the charts. You look at the bonding patterns, and you're like, okay, well, for example, this freebies. I mean, this. By the way, Gecko Terminal just shows things in a completely different way that Deck Screener does. So I'm going to start transitioning towards Gecko Terminal. But you look at this, and it's like, okay, I mean, this looks insane, but you might look at this and go, oh, it's like a rug pull. But when you start to zoom in, and then in actuality, it could have been like an opportunity of a lifetime. If you got in at the bottom, I mean, that's done 53x. So this is just one particular token within the Atropa ecosystem. And why? It's not necessarily because people were buying it. It's because of the way that it's bonded to other tokens, because everything moves together with pDAI. So really, again, it's not just about the individual tokens. And then what kind of paths exist with this freebies, for example? Where can I rotate that into? People ask, how can I be a positive participant in the ecosystem? It's by moving the liquidity around within the ecosystem. That to me is like it's like giving like nutrients to the soil. So yeah, I don't know what you guys have to say about that, or if you've got anything else that you guys wanted to talk about. I just wanted to quickly just mention those things because I'm seeing a lot of those comments in the comments. So, oh, and by the way, if people want to share this around, press the like. Would really appreciate that as well. Get more people into this stream. So, all right, we'll get off this one. Where do you guys actually feel we are now? Where do you feel that we are now, Maddie? In terms of if we zoom out on all of this, what's your gut feel? How do you feel about where the system is? Do you feel like, okay, local top, or you don't even have to say whether local top or buy now or sell now. Just how do you feel about things going at the moment?
I was already waiting for a correction, to be honest. I'm not trying to be a fanboy too much of anything, in the sense of like, just be realistic that if something's flying too heavy, it's gonna fall heavier too. Normally, only if it's like, if we're talking about like the pack movement, if that ever would happen, or like a crazy God candle, yes, there is exceptions. But with like Teddy or with pDAI, there's a lot of validation in the chart, in the sense of like, it normally goes back to certain levels to verify if people are still willing to sell it at that level, pretty much, no? So for me right now, this is not a crazy correction. For example, with Teddy Bear, from 100 to 80, I was expecting rather 60 or 50 quickly, just from people taking profits. But what I'm seeing is, yeah, there's going to be corrections, but the right upward movement is not broken at all in none of the major Atropa assets. So, like, I would always, in my opinion, and that's something I always try to do myself, never buy green candles. That sounds rough, but that's the best thing in long term for you. Don't jump on stuff if you see a crazy candle. Most of the time, you're buying a local top, and that is the truth. Not fudding anything right now, no? I'm not saying that pDAI tomorrow is going to have half the price, but I wouldn't be surprised if it goes back to check some levels, so to say. If it's not happening, I'm a happy man too. So, you know, I don't mind it. But yeah, it's good if it does. In my opinion, it's good if it does. That comes back to what you said earlier about, which was, if it takes longer and it corrects more often, and it's just better, because that means that it takes a lot less in the end people to cash out, because most people already cash out 90 cents, you know, or at 80 cents. So to say. So if it's slower, up to the right movement, we're all good, no? Nobody's here crying. I think there's nothing to complain about. I don't need $1 tomorrow. That's my opinion. And if people are so crazy on getting super crazy quick gains, that might be not your investment right now.
Yeah, and again, it's like, for the long-term health of the ecosystem, I saw one of my friends shared a tweet from someone who was like, I'm dumping this shit and I'm getting out of here, like talking about pDAI. If this got to $1 in the next month, that dude who's dumping it and doesn't believe it, or if it got to 50 cents, like it can really, like, they can clean out a lot of the liquidity. So it's healthy for these pullbacks to happen, and the people who don't truly believe to get out, and then the people who do believe and their mindset is switched to get in. So they're going to wait for these lower prices to get in. The people who are seeing the on-chain data, they're doing the analysis, their mindset is switched, they're going to get in. And again, it's creating like a new floor, it's creating new believers, and it's like a long-term healthy thing. So just before we get to Sunny, yes.
Stephen, can I add something real quick?
Please.
I hear a lot of talk of the price and about exiting into cash. I think there is a bigger narrative into actually having a Allodial title to an asset, meaning once you own the keys and you take them off chain and they're in your wallet, nobody can take it from you, right? When you move money off of this blockchain, and you put it into the real world, like here in America, we have civil asset forfeiture, we have property tax. You don't pay your property taxes, they can take your property. The best part of blockchain is that you possess your asset, right? And there's economic opportunity inside the chain. So if you have a point, and I'm not as well versed or schooled as, say, someone like Sonny about liquidity providing, but there's an opportunity to take your assets and put them to work for you and then enjoy the dividend. If you plan on taking them off of the chain, right, and putting them into, say, the NASDAQ here in the States, well, you don't actually hold those stock certificates. You have a right to them, the same way you have a right to your money in a bank account, but they can seize that, right? The power of a blockchain is the allodial title, right? That's yours. It can't be taken from you. And the focus on the near-term price performance is so minuscule. The idea that you can actually possess an asset, that's what blockchain gives the world. It gives every human the same opportunity to own an asset, right? So why would you exit that when there's economic opportunity in the chain? Like if, say, pDAI goes to $1, you can liquidity provide and get yield, even if you bond it to DAI on Ethereum, right? So put that value to work. Change your mindset. Don't think about, well, when I get $1 million, I'm leaving. No, now you have $1 million asset, right? Start using this system as if it's your bank because you actually own it.
I absolutely love everything about what you just said, Bud. Thank you so much. And I think what you said is extremely intelligent. One, from the perspective of that's exactly how the most rich people think. They think about their assets as like from a production level. And you're also seeing the evidence of what you said. Like in Australia, for example, the big four banks, there's a limit of $10,000 a month that you can put into cryptocurrency exchanges for our protection. And now there's a limit of $1,000 a month from the big four banks. So even the banks, who are a lot smarter than us about all the financial system, are seeing the writing on the wall that things like this, where we become the owners of our bank, our assets, and nobody can take that from us, they're seeing the writing on the wall and they want to slow that down. So that also means that we're in this like primed opportunity for basically creating a whole new future. So I love what you just said. Thank you, Bud. That was an awesome. Would anyone like to add to that, or Bud, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I don't have anything else intelligent to say.
I would like to add a quick thing to that. I mean, that's been kind of the issue with hacks too, that people just cash out millions of dollars and waste it on some, let's say, trash or whatever they might like that shit. I'm not saying it's necessarily trash, but in my opinion, it's like, dude, if you would have the same money still working for you, you would have cash forever. Why do you waste it on stuff and you don't get it back? Yes, you have hack stakes, but you're wasting your economical energy on bullshit just to show off wealth. Not my kind of investment strategy or kind of life philosophy. And I feel like if you have a big bag and a nice passive income, what else do you need? Your bag's growing, you have passive income, you're set for life. Why the fuck do you need to cash out millions? Like, everybody's different, but that's not me. And I think like that's what gets you wrecked in long term, because your fiat and your stuff doesn't grow in value normally. It normally costs maintenance. It normally just costs more and more cash. So it's like a circle of you're rich now, you're wasting it quickly. Like, I think like if you try to have a nice life, it's better to be financially free. But if it's just focused on having more and more millions of dollars, that's not a key to happiness neither. That's just another addiction, in my opinion, at least.
Agreed. And I think about, for example, my friends who I onboarded into Hex, and I want them to be as positive about the ecosystem as me, but because they bought 20 cents or the top and everyone's just dumping on them, they're not very positive at all. So again, from this long-term perspective, it's like it's the really old PvP mind. Sorry, Stu, I saw your microphone coming on and off. Is there something you wanted to add?
No. Well, actually, I kind of just agree with what everyone's saying. You know, be your own bank is literally like the most important thing. That's actually pretty much the only thing on this chain you should be doing. Also, the whole thing where like passive income is all you really need. Like, if I get $10 million right now, like, what am I going to do with it? I literally just want to go buy a house in the middle of nowhere and just grow fucking trees and just kind of do my own thing and just have my own lake. Like, you know what I mean? And then I can help everyone else if I really need to, right? Like, you know, there's a lot more you can do in the world. But there's a lot of things that you can do on this chain that can make you money every single day. You can be your own bank. You can, you know, leverage your own liquidity. There's literally so many things in it. This thing has been nothing but a gift. And, you know, we've been quite euphoric for the last little bit to the point, I think I'm pretty sure everyone in the last couple of days got asked how their crypto was doing at their family vacation during Thanksgiving and all the other stuff. I mean, hey, I had some guy at work saying, hey, cash out half of your Bitcoin, assuming like I had, you know, $100,000 lying around and telling me to pay off my mortgage. And on top of that, you know what? Great stream, guys. I kind of enjoyed being on here. You know, I think we all kind of have the mindset that we want to make this passive. You know, we are the few that say, hey, you know, when things are bullish and when everyone's saying buy, maybe take a step back and say, hey, maybe I don't overinvest. Maybe I take some profits. Maybe I learn a little while I'm here, right? Because I think that's the problem with people getting crypto is we're a casino, and that's what it actually used to be before Pulse Chain. It was a casino where essentially it was first come, first serve. I'm going to take your money if you don't take mine. And this is pretty much the first place we can be where it isn't player versus player. It's, you know, it's you versus yourself, essentially.
Yeah, but I love that. Thanks, Stewie. And before I ask you, Sunny, your opinion, I think also just to add to what you were saying, Bud, about the price, as Stewie was talking, it's like one of the main reasons why I personally talk about the price. It's like, now I really understand. I mean, I know Richard with the outrage marketing, it's the things that are going to attract. It's like the Venus flytrap. It's the things that are going to lure people to the system. So I talk about those things the most because I know, like, from the engagement of things, when I do like, this thing's going to blow up and everybody jumps in. I mean, even now, this stream has like so many more people in it than when I was doing it at the lows because everybody's euphoric, everybody's bullish, everybody likes the price and the numbers, but it should be the other way around. When it's the low, everyone should be like licking their lips and like, hell yeah, look at all this opportunity that I've got now that I can accumulate more and just embed myself in this system and just keep building and stacking my future. So yeah, it's an interesting kind of thing. It's an interesting little contradiction of the human mind. So, Sunny, would you like to add anything about what's been said so far? I know people are really craving your opinion. So,
yeah, I'll touch slightly on Parity. All of it's got to go. It's the whole chain. It's Hex. It's every fork copy. They're all like it's just the whole point of the whole thing, right? So like moving beyond that, when you start to look at dollar signs and something like pDAI, right? And this is the same thing for BFF, really. You can paint a dollar sign on anything you want and say we're going to get it there, right? So if we're at 2 cents right now and Pulse Chain does a 50x tomorrow, then pDAI's at $1, right? It's no more liquidity, no more difference, no more anything. It just poof, it's at $1. And eventually, you know, we are going to do these X's. Now, when we get to that point and there's liquidity, you know, if the maker DAO is running, then as Pulse goes up and does those X's, it'll keep it at $1 and it'll use that to over collateralize it, right? Because then it'll have more Pulse value to back it. But you know, the simple math of how the liquidity pools work here is not like anywhere else. We never had any liquidity to buy anything out of. All of our tokens are airdropped. Every single one of them. If they're from ETH, they're brought to the bridge and they are minted. We have minted a new token out of thin air. If they are fork copies, they were minted. They were minted out of thin air. If it was Pulse or Pulse X, minted out of thin air. RH will say daily, wrecking or trading will get you wrecked, right? Make your money work for you. Make those things. Don't expect profit from the work to others. And if you sacrifice and you're holding both your tokens, you're down right now. If at any point in the time you didn't market buy your tokens, but you had Pulse and Pulse X from the sacrifice, and in the beginning, our chart went up, it went down. It didn't really matter. If you got in that farm when it first opened, you're in profit right now. You have more Pulse X, and you earned your ink. Every liquidity position here started with nothing. I've started a lot of them. Look at something like Doge, right? If you get Doge to be the biggest pair, then the from Ethereum side, as Pulse Chain goes up, its price goes up. So people will go to Ethereum and buy it and come over here and dump it. Now to us, it's still worth the same amount of Pulse, but Pulse went up, so the dollar sign went up, and it created this arbitrage. That arbitrage just brought from Ethereum coins over here, right? If they mint those coins and dump them in the LP, like that's where those new coins are. The other side of it, if they dump the airdrop, and its biggest pool is the from ETH coin, it'll dump that coin, right? So if it dumps the from ETH side, people will buy that up because it's cheaper, which and then liquidity will bring back the other side, right? It's just back and forth. I think of it like a pump, right? It's like a water pump. Just up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And all that volume adds to your liquidity. And all these tokens that were never in pools before start to show up in pools. And early on, if you only have one token in the pool, and the traders are trading a 0.1 of a token, that 0.25% fee is a 0.0000 whatever, right? But if you're at that same price and people are dumping all these tokens, and all of a sudden you have 1,000 tokens in there or 1,000,000, well, then when they trade that same dollar, instead of being a 0.1 of a token, maybe it's 1,000,000 tokens. So now when they leave that 0.25% in liquidity, it's on 1,000,000 tokens, that'd be 2,200 tokens instead of a 0.000 whatever, right? So if you get these things at really low liquidities, and they don't need price action to go up, right? They just get dumped on, and then if you arbitrage them out properly, the price will not actually dump that far, right? It'll go down at 60% or whatever and retrace 40 with an arbitrage. So mathematically, just through arbitrage, if you pair the two coins together and then have Pulse and is stable, eventually they'll go at parity on their own. And that wouldn't do it with a whole lot of liquidity, right? But when we start to dump more and more of these tokens, it builds that liquidity. And then if you really want to get into it, like what I personally do, what I've done with my whole ecosystem, and what RH is doing with Pulse Chain is, and we'll just talk Pulse and Pulse X, for example, right? If you got an airdrop and you pair it, you put it in liquidity, you've now provided liquidity, right? That's where we're at. If somebody else comes and dumps, they're going to take out whatever's in there on the other side, right? They're just going to dump it. But if people that only had Pulse X or just came into this ecosystem and want to enter the farm, when they buy both those assets and then pair it, they've essentially started to leverage the chain. They've started to leverage that LP pool. If you buy a token out of a pool and shove it right back in the pool, you can actually absorb half of whatever you just put in. So every time we get new people from outside in the farm and the farm and the farm, it starts to absorb what the airdrop is selling. And it gets this not only thicker liquidity, but this leveraged liquidity. And the airdrop tokens, this goes for the forked copies as well, right? They're the liquidation on the leverage, right? If you can buy more of them and put them into LP before they can dump them, then they can't dump it to zero anymore. They can only get it to the floor. You can then buy those out again after they dump them and keep leveraging them, right? And that's exactly what we're doing right now. And I think these last couple of weeks have been a front run on the farms. Just watching on chain, like Pepe, Link, and Uni both started running at the same time, and people were adding liquidity, right? And then after that was BTC pDAI BTC, right? And they're paired together, so they just run together, and that's what started our PRC frenzy, right? And it's because all those tokens, a lot of them, that came with that forked liquidity that's still on Uniswap, like USDT and BTC. I think it's like $200,000 pool now, right? And that's just a forked copy that's just been sitting there running the whole time.
Yeah, I on that with when the chain first forked, it was one of the things where I was like, okay, where could the liquidity flow come in from? And I was at the time, I was like, oh, we should be looking at, in the groups that I was at, we should be looking at Pepe, Doge, Shiba Inu, like all the big memes. This is where the people are going to come. But my mindset at the time was, oh, I'm only looking at this from the perspective of how can I just capitalize on this one movement? And it's almost like if I had taken some of those tokens, provided liquidity, it would have been way better. I mean, what are we in, like a year and a half now into Pulse Chain? I feel like I'd be way better position than if I just took whatever was there at the time. And now it's like there's all these different, oh, Viv is here. There's all these different things popping off all over the chain that it's like, it's just this awesome, it's just this like, it's what's making it so difficult to sleep, because there's so much fun that can be had on this blockchain. If you're passionate about a particular token or a particular ERC20 that you love, like I love AI and metaverse, it's like, okay, well, I can be the one that really kicks this off with just a few $100s and just starts building out a liquidity web. And I think that's really something that people are still sleeping on. And I have to thank you a lot. You've really taught me a lot about liquidity providing, and really helped me shift my mindset about what it actually means to be like a custodian of this chain. So I really am trying to share those things continuously with people as well, like really encouraging people to just try, just start creating a liquidity pool just with a small percentage of your bag. Start creating a liquidity web. Look at the LAU tokens. Just start something and see how your whole world will be turned upside down. The whole way of thinking about crypto will be like 180. You'll just, the mindset shift is just phenomenal just by starting to dip your toes into it. So yes, thank you very much, Sonny. I think everybody really loves you a lot for that, and they love your ecosystem as well. So,
when I look at a lot of this stuff too, like we use this parity thing all the time, and people like to look at the copy BTC versus the copy DAI, right? And that gives us like kind of what our Bitcoin's worth, right? Because that's what it's worth in our DAI, and it's been floating that 70 to 100,000, a little above. When you start to think about that, and I kind of look at it not as parity anymore, but as harmony, right? There's two different ecosystems running here. One's the forked one, and one's the from ETH one. So all these from ETH coins, when they arbitrage out, if you bring in, like, this goes the same for both sides, right? Like, there's a ratio between Solana and Ethereum and BNB and Ethereum or Bitcoin, right? So if you bring those over here and tie them all together, the from ETH assets, you now own all those assets. They're arbitraging between each other, so you're going to earn more of them in fees. And if one of them goes up, if Sol decides it wants to 2x tomorrow without everybody, it's going to bring up our real world from Ethereum stuff and cause that arbitrage of people bringing over, the Sol that moon or whatever that's mooning with it through the LPs, right? And just dump those prices. But it's all fake dollar signs, and it's literally just bringing over liquidity and adding to it, right? So I also look at this harmony in the forked copies, and that's kind of what I've been building out a lot lately is, the forked BNB with the forked Sol with the forked, name whatever your main coins are, right? The Doge, the makers, like getting those paired to each other starts to bring this harmony to the entire forked state. And that's how all of this goes together. The reason that we don't just go straight up right now, like if you watch, if our BTC is on a really high run, it's just going parabolic at the moment. Go look at the BTT chart, and you'll see them buying that up. And the reason that chart's going up isn't because we're buying it and chasing the PRC20. It's because the ARBs are going and buying it and then using it in bank or in a collateral loan. And watching this guy do it the last couple of days, he usually gets about 25%. So if he can put $500 in there, he's going to pull out 650, 625 or something like that. And then the next one he'll do like 400 into 500 and then 300 into 350, and then that arbitrage slowly moves away as one catches up or the other one keeps stops going. So there has to be that harmony in all of the forked coins. We have to recreate ETH the same way that we're looking at the ratio between pDAI and WBTC. That WBTC ratio needs to be the same to wrapped SOL or the forked SOL, the forked BNB. Like, it's all the same math.
And now it's never been easier to start to do this for yourself. I mean, what's the one that you always talk about, Sonny? I think PaxG, the one that you've almost brought to parity. Is it PaxG or Frax or something?
PaxG, yeah, it's gold. Not almost to parity. It got to like $100. Gold's like 25, but behind DAI and Bitcoin, it's basically the next one. And I saw that super early on and was like, oh, like it's PaxG, and USDP is PaxG's backed, stablecoin backed by gold, right? So I was like, all right, the two of these need to be paired together because they probably work together in some arbitrage or some sort of front end. Then we looked at the holders list, and you go look at the holders list. It's almost like looking at BTC, right? Like, nobody really owns a lot of gold on Ethereum. It's all just collateralized loans, and it's a placekeeper for a mark in the system, and just the overall, your economy is not going to work if there's just not gold somewhere, right? So, Binance is a top holder. These collateral loans are, fairly large holders. But most of it's just stuff that I was like, oh, this is never going to get sold, right? So I bridged in some real PaxG, paired those two together, and as we started running, for a couple of months, easy, I was the only one that was really arbitraging it because I think it got up to maybe 25. Like the real PaxG from Ethereum on our chain has been up to like $4,000. So I'll go over there, buy a quarter one or $400, $500, wherever the liquidity is, the bridge. Like, there's a math in what that arbitrage will bring, and I'll come over and I'll dump the fake one. And me personally, I don't cash out. I'm sorry, I'll dump the real one, right? The one at bridge. I don't cash it out. I buy up the other side with it, right? So as I'm pushing the real one down, I'm pushing the fake one up, and then when I get to parity, or the peg for the ETH side rather, then whatever's left there is my profit, right? So I'll sell a little bit of that and get the price actually just a little bit lower, and then I'll pair them, and then my profit is now, from ETH PaxG with fake PaxG, and when fake PaxG gets to parity, I'll be left with all the real PaxG, right? And for me, that's how you turn fake money into real money. I don't ever have to trade it. I don't have to wait for the top. I don't have to do anything. I just sit here and earn on every trade until we get there. And when we do get there, I'm going to have a whole bunch of real PaxG that if I do want to cash out, I can just go over to the other chain and get my profit and not even barely touch this chart.
And you've spoken about this sort of stuff at length, and honestly, you probably would have even noticed by the conversations with me, I never really truly understood until I started to do it for myself with the LAU tokens. Then I started to understand what arbitrage, like I really understood what arbitrage is doing, what it means to create a liquidity web. So even for people, if there's like something that you're passionate about, an ERC20 where you're like, I would love to see that on Parity on Pulse Chain. I'd love to start bringing over a community. I had one of my buddies, SolidX, he's sorry, not SolidX, ShopX, big into ShopX, and he really tried to kickstart this. And I was starting to tell him about creating liquidity webs, and it's like, okay, well, how can I find the clues? If I don't know what to do, what can I do? So you can look at something like this. You could look at PaxG. You can use this. It's never been easier now. You could get the contract address. Now I'm loading this. What are some of the people who are starting to achieve this doing? So obviously Sonny's doing this with PaxG. What did he do? I can go to this liquidity pools versal.app. I can look at what's actually happening here. So there's $75,000 of liquidity. There's 148 liquidity pools. What's Sonny done? Okay, what kind of pools has he created? Just start to look for clues on the chain for what people are doing already, and just start to emulate and start to start to experiment yourself, and your favorite tokens can start to reach parity as well. And it ends up being something where it benefits the chain and it benefits you. And I think when you can do something like that, that's the real winner. If it's just something that benefits me, it's like a one-way. It's not like nature is something that benefits everybody, everything first, and me at the same time. So yeah, I think anything you want to add to that, Sonny?
Yeah, while we're on it, like if you want to go back and look at like DAI, right? So if we pair the DAI with the real DAI, that becomes a short. Anything you pair with a stable becomes a short. So when people sell into it, it actually does better than if it was just paired against Pulse. And we actually want everyone to sell their fork coins. We need them in the liquidity so that we can build the liquidity and do the thing. And for me, I spent the last year trying to get people to do all this stuff, and I'm all about it, every single one of them, except for I did change my DAI strategy up this week. And I pulled all of my DAI, and I took the DAI and I went to the PulseX liquidity tab, and I got the stable pool LP, and then I paired that with my DAI as the stable coin. And the reason that I did that, and honestly, I didn't notice it 2 months ago or 3 months ago when RH launched it, but when RH launched his stable coin, he made it of the other three assets, right? And those other three assets, when they trade within it, they get charged a little bit more for the fee, and that's what creates this LP token to have an APR itself. So what I did is I took my stable pool LP that I make right there on that screen you're looking at, and when I pair that, my half of the LP is actually earning, let's just say it's a 20% APR. So it's growing in strength as well as being traded and earning its fees. So as they dump and try and push against it with selling their DAI, it's growing a little bit inside and it's just pushing back. So I personally think that that's a huge pool, and I almost think it's why RH launched it when he did. It's actually kind of funny. A lot of people are still waiting for RH to launch a stable coin, and he actually did. Like, it's right there, and it pays you an APR, right? But if we go and look at something like, if anyone saw what Somi posted the other day, and I think that got kind of big, right? And there's truth in what he says, right? If you go DAI right now, and we go to Parity, I'm just going to use his numbers and pretend it's good math, right? You will lose about 70%. Now, here's the thing, though. Do you lose 70%? No. If you put X amount of dollars in, well, you went up 30%. Maybe they went up the full 70%, right? Or you did, I'm sorry, if they did 50Xs, you did 30% of that, right? So you're like 15X instead of 50. But the difference for me is when we flip and we get to the top, if you actually want my position in a what's probably going to be ripping volume stable pool, you're going to have to pay 70% more and take whatever price impact it might be to get into that position, right? I'm already going to be there, and all my pDAI is going to be left in stable LP, right? So my bigger side with more tokens, that I lost out on, right? No, I gained more stable LP, so my bigger half is now gaining that 18% and just pushing back harder. Like, you can literally take the stable LP, pair it to a token, 100%, never touch it, and watch it go up 18% a year in price, because your liquidity inside of it's growing. It's becoming worth more.
Can I ask Sonny a question?
Of course.
The other day we had somebody come in and just start dumping PUSDC. And if you were liquidity providing pDAI with PUSDC, the RBot has already brought it back close to parity. Was that a really good liquidity providing opportunity?
Oh, absolutely. So in all of crypto, right, the best thing you can do is take stablecoin to stablecoin, DAI to USDC or whatever, right? And it's a lower APR, right? You might, on a normal chain, you might get 5%, right? But if you're just holding stables in your wallet, might as well put them there and get your 5%, right? So we can actually do the same thing here. The best I'm not gonna say the best, right? But like a great pool on this chain is the PWETH copy with Pulse, right? They're 1-to-1 in the code forever. So if you pair them in liquidity, and they're like a 500,000, maybe $1 million in that liquidity pool. I haven't checked in a while, but it runs at like a 5% APR, or it did the last time I checked. We're actually running some good numbers now. It may have gone up, right? But you have zero impermanent loss. So all you can do is earn more coins. And a year ago, that's how I started everyone with liquidity. I said put 100 PWETH and 100 Pulse in the pool. And someone came in the pub a couple weeks ago. It was like, oh yeah, I still have that. I think they were on like 108 or 106 or something, right? So they had made their 8 or 6% in the year, or well, 208 or whatever. I don't know. But so, the less chance of impermanent loss, the better the position is, right? But if both of your coins go up, you can look at it as impermanent loss, but like that's the trick in crypto, right? It's like, oh, I made more than you, so you're a loser. It's like, yo, I made money too. Like my plan might be different, but we both still made money, right? So like for me to support the PRC and maybe give up some X's on just holding the copy, when we get to parity and we're done, all of my stuff is in the real asset that I can just bridge out, cash out over on somebody else's chain. So when you get into other tokens of less impermanent loss, personally right now, I mean, a couple of my biggest positions, I have the BTC one, just because I want to end up with a whole bunch of real Bitcoin. And I have the forked BTC and forked DAI, right? Because in my mind, if we're going together. So if both of those have a 50x from here, I'm not really going to take a whole lot of impermanent loss. They're both going to basically hold their value, go straight to the top. I'm going to have about the same. Well, hopefully I have more coins, right? If they're at parity now at 100K and we move perfectly right up to the 50x, I'm just going to have more coins on both sides. And I'm also going to have this LP that's now worth 50x the dollars. So I can, it's going to be running, I don't know if 50x the arbitrage is the right term, right? But obviously more dollars in the pool means more dollars that can flow in arbitrage. And that growth is just exponential, right? Because now, let's say you've got this, $500,000 LP that is Bitcoin and DAI, and it just starts, it's just ripping, right? Like, I'm almost actually in my Teddy pool, and this is obviously a different one, but like Teddy gets bad volume, right? I'm almost to the point where I'm making my initials on that pool in 1 day of volume. That's insane. Like what I put into that a year ago when we just did that $1 million of volume a day, that was like a third of my initials that I made that day.
Can you repeat that, Sonny? Can you just repeat that last part so it really sinks into people's minds that you made what in 1 day?
So the Teddy pool, I started it like a year ago, and I wrote it all the way up and all the way back down, and that just filled me with a ton of coins, right? So those coins, then obviously everything's going up now. There's a lot more dollar value there. So like I think I put like 7K into that pool. It's worth like 120-ish right now. I'd have to check because we're moving around. But like when I own 85% of that pool, so every time it does 1.15 million in volume, I get $2,200 in that pool. So if we have a $3.5 million volume day on the Pulse X pair, on the Pulse Teddy pair, I'll make $7,000, which is literally my initials. And that's auto compounded. It's in there. Now I'm making that percentage more tomorrow.
Wow.
That's insane. Thanks, Sonny. What were you going to say, Bud?
I'm going to say real quick, I do not recommend anyone jump in that pool now. Like I got this a year and a half ago when Teddy was $1 million market cap. Like you're not going to experience those gains, but you can go find these little tiny forked ones that have no volume and no life, and just start giving them life. If you give them more pools to arbitrage, they'll just start growing.
So with the excuse me, the PUSDC pDAI liquidity pool, we saw the RBOT work and bring it back to parity. And so your risk of impermanent loss is basically zero, but you still have the potential for a 33x on both sides. So you could provide liquidity while still enjoying that upside.
Right. Absolutely. And what's going on there is in some of these collateral loans, and this is just how it works on ETH, right? There's protocols where if I've got USDC but I want to get DAI, I just go to the contract and there's no slippage, right? I just trade one for one. And what's happening here is because we don't have that harmony that I was talking about between all of our ETH coins, right? Like they all just have to be paired together and move together, or else when one of them gets out of whack, someone's going to go arbitrage it. And that's going to happen until the pools are level and right, and the arbitrage will always be there. Like it's there on Ethereum right now. And what happens is if I want to do DAI for USDC, I take my DAI, like let's say DAI is at 99 cents and USDC is at $1, right? I'll go buy my DAI, give it to the protocol. The protocol actually burns it from existence, right? It takes it out of the total supply, and then it goes and mints you the USDC and gives it to you on that side. And then when they flip and go the other way, they'll take that USDC and they'll come and they'll burn it to that protocol, and the other side will mint you the DAI back. So everyone sees, oh my God, we're minting. It's like, well, yeah, but you never see why, right? Most people don't anyway. You have to actually go and look and see that it's just a collateralized loan. And you can do the same thing with our Bitcoin, right? Somewhere in an oracle, it's pointing to a price saying that you can give this many DAI for this many Bitcoin, or you can give this many maker tokens for this, like the like CAW token. Like there's so many things that you can collateralize loan over there. So anything that you can take a collateralized loan on ETH that has a working protocol here, it has to be included in the harmony of our from the fork system state, that side.
I wanted to say that a pretty good game, in my opinion, too, might be PUSDT pDAI pool. If you believe that PUSDT might reach up to pDAI on the way, you're getting a lot more PUSDT might be, and then a lot of pDAI. In the end, you're going to have a lot more of both in that sense, value-wise.
That's a really good idea.
I think any of them, to be honest, I mean, anything that you think is going to get to parity, and I mean, just for example, pDAI and pHex, eHex, pDAI and wrapped Bitcoin. That's one that's absolutely insane. Just anything and everything with pDAI, for example. If you think pDAI is going to $1, expand your mind out. I'm not going to say which one is the better one, but expand your mind out. Start looking on the blockchain. What's getting high volume? What's getting a lot of attention? And it's like by the time it gets to parity, you're going to be plus on both sides. Instead of just holding those tokens and waiting to like dump out, you're going to be plus on both sides. You're going to get to the end and go, wow, hang on a minute. I've actually, you just from that process, your mind is going to completely switch from this person who wants to just dump and leave. Your mindset's going to shift and go, wow, I can actually become an owner of the liquidity. I can become an owner of this system here, and I don't need to sell this. I can actually just be a liquidity provider and stay here forever. Look at like Hexologist on stream the other day. The reason that the thing that got him into pDAI was the fact that he was providing liquidity with Hex on Ethereum. So he actually had a whole bunch of pDAI in a liquidity pool. He might now go, well, I've got all this eHex, I've got all this pDAI, I can put this into a liquidity pool, and if we get to some kind of parity, then he's going to be plus on that side as well. So it's really the mindset shift is like once you start providing liquidity and seeing what it can do for you, it's like a whole new world of cryptocurrency that you can't have on Ethereum. You don't have that opportunity on Ethereum. You don't have that opportunity anywhere, actually. Not like we do on Pulse Chain. So I just want to emphasize that point. Bud, do you have much experience with providing liquidity?
Very little. I listen to Sonny a lot, and sometimes I have to hear it a bunch, and this is really starting to set in for me. I think Sonny's one of the smartest guys in that, and I really appreciate you answering my question, but it's something I've done a little of, but I'm going to I think the pDAI, PUSDT is a good pair. I really like that suggestion. I'm going to start doing a bunch of that. What an opportunity to increase both of your bags if you are of the mindset that you're going to reach parity, which I'm all in on. Then it's just a matter of leaving that liquidity there until you achieve that and enjoy the growth plus the dividend from the liquidity provided. Also, I don't mean to minimize the promotion of the price in my earlier statement. I think that's extremely important to onboard. So if it was taken as minimization, I hope that it's not seen as that. I just would like there to be also a conversation about staying in the chain, looking for economic opportunity in the chain, and keeping your money safe where it's actually yours, where you possess it.
I love that you brought that into the conversation as well, because it's something that I've been thinking a lot about and wanting more people to discuss as well. So on that, does anyone have a perspective or an opinion to add on that about bringing into the chain and staying in the chain and the opportunities that you guys might be seeing with that? I mean, we've been discussing that with the PRC20s, the ERC20s, some of these liquidity pools. Anything else that you guys want to add to that conversation? Because I think it's a really important conversation to have.
Dude, I think as soon as we got like direct paying facilities that are not crazy by fees from Pulse Chain to real life assets, why would you cash out? Like what Bud said, you would just keep it on Pulse Chain and you would directly pay with your card, whatever real life stuff you need to pay. Hopefully with just your passive income and not with your original back. And here we go forever. In my opinion, as easy as that it sounds, that is.
You were going to say something, Sonny?
I just want to finish up on that last thought with the three stables, and any of them that, like right now it's DAI and USDC. They're a good pair together. USDT is generally running about 40%, like 60-40 or down to 50. And USDP is running with that and a couple of other ones. And that's part of breaking another protocol. But if you want to mess around with some LP, and it's nice chatting with you, Bud. Obviously, come into the pub anytime, and we can BS all day. But the great thing about Pulse is how cheap it is to do these things. And you can take your pDAI, pair it with your PUSDT, right? Let's say let's get USDT is the weaker one, so we want double that. So we're going to get $25 of pDAI, $25 of USDC, and pair those together. And then we're going to go buy $50 of USDT and pair it to that PLP token. And you'll now have a new PLP token that is 25% pDAI, 25% USDT, and USDC, and 50% USDT. So the other two are going to arbitrage out the one, right? So rather than just having to pair one or the other, you can get the two arbitraging together and use that strength of what you're earning in that pool to push its power into the other one and create that arbitrage, because it'll actually push the price of the other token up, or vice versa, it'll push the price of the LP token up. And these tokens, like you could actually make you could make real Bitcoin, real DAI, and fake Bitcoin, fake DAI, and then pair them together. And when you trade the token for the token, you can push the price of real DAI and real Bitcoin without actually trading those tokens or those charts. You can just do it in swapping liquidities. And a lot of Maria's tokens are just liquidity backed tokens, right? There's actually no holders. Like there's so many tokens in this ecosystem that have 90+% in liquidity still. And people look at it and they're like, oh my God, it's $20,000. It's like, it doesn't matter what it is. Nobody owns it. Like nobody can wreck the chart. It's only going to go up, right? So like you could take these and you can swing them against each other and actually like there's two tokens in the ecosystem that Maria can trade against each other and change the price of DAI or WBTC without trading either of those tokens. It's all just liquidity. It's the power of liquidity pushing against the power of another liquidity. So a fun experiment for anyone who wants to mess around. Go get $1 in the pDAI, $1 in the USDC, $2 in the USDT. Pair the first two together, and then take that PLP token and pair it with the USDT, and just watch it. You know, write down your numbers, pay attention, and see how it moves in the next couple of weeks in your DBank.
So just so people can understand how to even do this process, because I think this is where people slip up on. So as what Sonny was just saying, so on your Pulse X, you would go to trade, hover over it, you go to liquidity. Once you're in liquidity, you go to add liquidity. So I've got a ton of little liquidity pools here. So you go to add liquidity. So what Sonny was saying is, for example, the pDAI. So you would type in pDAI, so DAI stablecoin, the real DAI, and then USDC. So you got USDC coin. So anything with the pulse chain colors around the logo is us, and if it says from Ethereum, then it's from the Ethereum side. So you can pair this together, because these were these are almost 1-to-1. I think it's slipped now because I've seen some of the volume now flowing through its to PUSDT. So you could put 10 on each. You know what? I don't want to do this. Just actually, it doesn't matter. So then you would just supply.
Yeah. Go ahead and do it, and then we'll go get 20 USDT and pair it to that.
And then I just sign. And then what this does is it puts it in the liquidity pool. So it's as simple as this, and it's going to mint the PLP token. And I think I needed to add the PLP token. I don't know if it's going to.
If you have your DBank on there, you can find it. Or if that was Rabby, you can click on it in your or click on that. Yeah.
I'll click on this because I don't want to show the rest of my Rabby. Praying for dark mode. Pray for dark mode.
We'll forgive you this time. Yay!
All right, so
you can see the one I minted.
So that's the address there. So you would click in the PulseX PLP to get the address, and you can see it's given this much PLP. So now what I would do is I would add, for example, add this PLP here. And see, I'm adding this here. So now I've just added the PLP, so the PulseX LP. And do I have any of the USDT? If I don't, I'll show you. Just for example, I don't have enough, but what I'm going to do, so then I can swap. So I'd swap. I've got some excess some of the excess pDAI, and I'll swap that for some of the USDT. And then, so for example, I think I'll just put 10. And this shows you the ratios as well when you're looking on the thing. I mean, that's a big ratio difference, by the way. So this is where also people, I mean, I don't want to encourage anyone to do anything. You make your own decisions. But because I believe in...
Do that again. Because you have 10 and 10, so you need 20 worth of this.
I've got 20 worth of this. 20 worth of DAI, you mean?
Yeah, well, you did 10 already, so just do 10 more. Just 10.
It was on 10. Okay. Or
you confirmed that one, right? You already bought 10.
I did not.
Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't see that. It's kind of small. So 20 total. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So 20 total.
Because we have 10 DAI and 10 USDC. So we need a total of 20 versus USDT.
Gotcha.
Too many US somethings.
Probably bought a few I've clicked too many buttons here. So, okay. So then now that's going through, then I'd go to liquidity again, add liquidity. I would get that PLP token. And I'm assuming it's this one here. I'm hoping it's this one there. And then my USDT, which just came through. So I bought that twice. So I maxed that out. So that's 54 cents. Oh, no one's created this.
Yeah, probably not.
Wow. Okay. All right. So okay, this is a way to create an LP if you're the first one as well. When there's it's I can, because there's a dollar sign here, it makes it a little bit easier. But
The
so
dollar
I'm just
sign
gonna.
might not be right though. Never trust your dollar signs. Always your token counts.
I think I accidentally. I just got to double. Ah, shit! I want to dox my wallets. Just give me 1 second. Sorry, everyone. Because I don't know if I bought that twice or not because I was clicking too many buttons. Just give me 1 second,
Just grab the right PLP token.
and I'll get the right PLP token as well. Yeah. Shit. Okay. I think I bought 30 rather than just 20. Okay, so it was
Well, yeah, 20 was what, 50?
50. That's right. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna double
Yeah, we'll get
check.
close enough. It'll be off by a penny or two. Won't matter.
Because people have often asked about how to create new liquidity pools. So it says this will be the first liquidity provider. So I'm just going to double check again that I have the right PLP, because as the PLP just has it.
That wasn't it.
Just so other people can see as well. So there we go. So it's grayed out. So we know we've got the correct one. And then so now we're going to put 50.
I don't think that was the right one, Steven. Go back to your transaction page.
Mm-hmm.
Go back one page. And the bottom one in the green where it says 000 from, that's the one you just made. It came from the debt address. You just minted a new token. That's the one you want. The one that you grabbed up top is the token that you swapped the DAI for the USDC in.
So you're saying it's this one here?
Yep. See how it came from the debt address? When you make an LP, you're minting a new PLP token. And a lot of people don't really understand that, right? Like, you're going to own 100% of this pool, right? And then 10 more people are going to own it. When you come back tomorrow, you're going to have 10% of the pool. And you're going to feel like, oh man, these guys got 90% of the pool now and they made me so small, right? And it's a trick, because what they did was they minted more tokens and made your pool bigger. So it's actually good that your percentage goes down because there's more money in the pool, which means that more arbitrage dollars can go through the pool.
Right. So just quickly, because it's all the same. So they're all the same PLP. So even this one, yeah.
Gotcha.
So it wasn't.
Yeah, now, yeah. It's saying those two went into that, and that's where it got printed from. I can't really see the screen. It's so small. That's all.
Okay, that's cool. And then so I'm going to enable the PLP. A little bit of gas there, and then I'll enable the USDT. I really like this idea as well, because this idea as well starts to this is a pool now that's going to create an arbitrage between. This is going to be something that's going to help bring the idea of parity between USDC, PUSDC, pDAI, and PUSDT, just from creating something like this. So now I get 100% of the pool, and there's 50 cents in there. So anyone who comes along and does this, obviously, as Sonny was saying, if somebody puts 50 cents in here now, then I'll own 50% of the pool, and the other person will own 50% of the pool. And so we're working together to get this done. So I might have put too many transactions through, so should have waited. But in any case, it's as simple as that. So it'll go through, and then once I enable, I'm just gonna cancel that, because I think I've blocked up the blockchain, and I don't want to. Oh no, it did come through. So
Well, I'll be in there with you as soon as this is over.
there we go. So then we got two people in this pool that are working towards. So again, hey, and especially if you're someone who's into USDT and you feel like, oh, I missed out on the ultimate opportunity with the pDAI. Not necessarily. I mean, the PUSDT is something now, through this particular example, that you can help contribute towards creating that parity that's going to bring them together. And yeah, that's something that I'll also be adding more into this personally, because I just think this is an absolutely brilliant idea, because I also really want to see all three of these in parity. So, and then we supply, and then that supply is going to mint a new PLP token. And yeah, there we have it. So it's as simple as that. And once you start doing it and start wrapping your head around it, it just gets easier and easier. And it's just with a click of a few buttons. Costed what, like a few cents just to do that. There's really nothing to lose and everything to gain by just experimenting and playing around with all the little games that are happening on Pulse Chain. So thank you for that, Sonny. Awesome. So yeah, see now if I see how it's saying now 50%, because I've got the same amount of PLP and the same amount of USDT. So if I add into the pool again with the same amount, then even though I own 100 at the moment, it'll now, this is going to add another 50% into the pool, share of the pool. If this was, so now if this is 25, oops. Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, so 25, I'm going to own, yes, 33.33. Shout out to that number. And I could add way more into there if I want to. And then I'm going to add 98% of the pool. And then if somebody else came along and did this, then I would end up owning only like 1.096% of the pool. So yeah, just start having a play. Start having a play with this. Like all these games, just start seeing the numbers. That's something where Sonny really encouraged me to really start looking into this simple pool. It's like a one-to-one. It's a one-to-one. Your Pulse Chain and your wrapped Ethereum. It's in the code that it's one-to-one. So if you've just got, I was telling my friends this the other day again. I'm like, if you've just got Pulse Chain sitting there doing nothing and you want to earn yield on it, chuck it into a pool like this. It's got 119K volume in the last 24 hours. But I think for me personally, there was all this fear about, I don't want to swap out my Richard Heart core tokens. One, it was like a betrayal of Richard Heart. So there was kind of like this cognitive dissonance that I had to overcome in my own mind. And two, it's like there's this fear that I'm going to mess things up. So I always recommend just do it with a little bit. Just do it with a little bit and see for yourself. If you have like, I don't know, 100 million Pulse Chain, then do it with 1% or 10%. And there's nothing to lose in this, because you're literally just swap. If you say I'm going to do it with 10%, so you swap, you'd take 100,000 Pulse Chain, you would swap 50,000 for PWETH, and you've lost nothing, because you can, if something goes wrong, you're like, oh, I want my Pulse Chain back, you can just swap it straight back in. It's one-to-one. But then instead of that, you can sit it in a liquidity pool here, 50-50 on each side, and you'll just see the numbers go up. So yeah, it's a whole new world being a liquidity provider. So
hey, Stevie.
Yes.
So basically, also, I was going to kind of throw out there, one of the biggest lessons we were taught was PLS with Ethereum Pulse. Essentially, that's always going to be a one-for-one. So don't forget about that one.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I was just talking about just then. So this chart here, this is one-to-one. So the Pulse Chain wrapped Ethereum and Pulse Chain is always going to be one-to-one. So there's really there's literally no loss. If you're someone who's really attached to your Pulse Chain bags and you're really afraid of like losing your Pulse Chain, but you're curious about liquidity providing, this is the most G-rated level 1 that you could possibly get into, because there's zero impermanent loss. You can see the numbers go up. And if you like the game, then you can start deploying your other assets or your Pulse Chain into other things. But then you'll see what this game is all about. And there's literally zero loss. There's literally no risk whatsoever, because you can literally just take it out and put it back into Pulse Chain, and you're going to have exactly the same amount as Pulse Chain plus any of the yield that you got from being in that pool. So it's like it's a no loss. I think the only time you could possibly lose is if you put it in there and then you leave it in there for like 5 seconds and you take it out. In that process of like putting it in, taking it out, some will get left behind in the liquidity pool. So you might end up losing like 0.00 something % of your Pulse Chain. But otherwise, it's like it's a fantastic way to start learning. So all right. where do you guys want to take the conversation now? I feel like we've covered a lot of really, really awesome things. We're almost up to 2 hours here. Is there anything in particular that people wanted to cover? Anything people want to add or talk about with Atropa or liquidity providing?
Honestly, the best thing you can do is, if you're curious about it, just do it. That's your best bet, is just take as little as amount that you want and just fuck around and find out. That's the only way you're going to figure out how this works, is basically baptism by fire.
Mm.
And unfortunately, there's expensive lessons in the game, but there's us here that have gone through that to kind of at least tell you, hey, don't do this, don't do that. This is kind of the smarter way to do it. So, you know what? Like, everyone's got to think for themselves. And at the end of the day, there's people out there that have your best interest in mind, and also, your worst interest in mind too. So,
yeah. And once you start seeing the power of it and you start leveling up and you start wrapping your head around it, it might take you like a month or 6 months, depends how quickly you learn and how much you do it. But I feel it's a skill that is going to serve you forever. If we believe truly that Pulse Chain is going to be the future of finance and decentralized DeFi is going to be the future of finance, then wouldn't you want to learn how to be in the position that the top dogs in the world are doing? Like, they're not chasing 100x's. They're just putting their liquidity up and getting yield on it, and then creating things out of that yield. They're not doing what we're trying to do. But now we're at this ground floor moment of this whole new decentralized financial system, which I believe is going to be like, I really am like, I'm seeing all the pieces of the puzzle, and I'm like, this is actually what DeFi wants to be. This is like the perfect form, that it's like all the pieces of cryptocurrency have come together, and this is what Pulse Chain is. It's like, I believe that this is going to be like a revolution in cryptocurrency. That's just my personal opinion. And I think we're going to be the #1 blockchain in the world in the future, in the very, very near future.
Stephen, I'd like to add to that. The other day, I watched an interview on the Sean Ryan podcast, and he was interviewing Eric Bethel, the former head of the World Bank. And Eric Bethel, the conversation turned toward cryptocurrency, and he was ardently against central bank digital currencies, but he said the future of finance are sufficiently decentralized blockchains. And that is what we have here. And that's from the former head of the World Bank. So,
wow.
Just thought I'd add that in for context.
Wow. There you go. And anything that becomes more decentralized and more owned by more people, like, it's just a better system for everyone. It's a more fair system for everyone. So I don't think people really appreciate what is happening here. I still think people are still looking at, when's Pulse Chain going to get to $1? When's Hex going to get to $10? And they're looking too much still at just the old way of crypto, which is like, essentially, if you're looking at Pulse Chain, like Pulse Chain to $1, it's no different to dog with hat. We kind of talk with this sense of superiority that like, oh, Pulse Chain's better, but we're still looking at the ticker as like dog with hat or Pepe or Shiba Inu. It's just doing something different. But if you're just looking at it like that, as like value extraction, it's the wrong. I think you're going to be really upset in the future. That's just my 2 cents. So,
hey, Steve, you know what? I got something to say before I go. You know what? So we're talking about the P stable V2s.
Mm-hmm.
So I've actually built a system, and I've been building it since the bottom, and I actually named it after the Einstein theory. So the EMC2 theory. But I actually used the tokens light, mass, and energy. And each one of them actually rewards each of the P stables. So one rewards you DAI in USDC, one rewards you USDC, USDT, and the other one rewards you DAI and USDT. I've actually had this ecosystem built for a while. So actually, if you were to reference your PLP token that you created and you were to put that in a search bar, you'd see all the pairs that are already created. And one of them would probably be, I forget which one that would be. I think it would be Mass. But I do want to point out that there are tokens out there that do reward you V2. So essentially, actually here, since you got the screen up, just type in MFS.
MFS. So this is one of yours here, NRG, by the way, PLP with the NRG.
Yeah, there it is
Energy.
right there. Yeah, so that's one of them that rewarded this specific PLP.
Nice.
So
Okay, and what were you asking?
So essentially that one does that PLP, the other ones do the other, but the reason I built this was based off of Sunny's teaching saying that like you pair $1 to $1 or a 1 to a 1, it's going to go up back and forth. So if you get a coin that rewards you this, then essentially the token that rewards you this coin, you'll never actually lose token value on what you're rewarded. You know what I mean? So it'll never go down. So it's just something I built that it's kind of like, hey, this is out there. It's to actually promote impermanent loss, to say that, like, you know, there's a system out there that people put it this way. We're all about, why do I want to hold this coin? Right. And that's basically the biggest reason. And even if you look at this chart versus Pulse, you'll see exactly when I plug the liquidity into the system too.
So you're talking about, so this PLP, you're the one that created the to Pulse chain. You created the pool with WPLS.
I forget if I created it. I don't know if someone else had created it already, but there's a couple of them I created. But essentially, I brought value to them. So there's Pulse pools with them. There's value to them, and I've actually created tokens that reward them. So if you go to go to the Pulse pool, and you look at the chart there. And basically, all that is just volume on volume, and no one's selling the rewards. And the only one that was selling the rewards was me to actually add more liquidity. Oh, damn, we're up to 743 right now. That's awesome.
Oh, nice. Okay, nice. And oh, yes, dark mode. So it's just ticking up slowly over time, right?
Yeah, so actually by you adding to this actually does support my system, but you know, you either maybe get to the point where you can sell your PLP or you can sell your token. Obviously, I don't want anyone to sell the PLP because it's actually going to work for you. But, you know, at the end of the day, if you have a coin that rewards you based off of volume, if it goes up or down with a PLP that's going to reward you with more and more tokens, and you're not going to have any impermanent losses, I think that's a pretty good deal.
Right. And so, and yeah, Dex Screener kind of sucks. I don't know how accurate some of this information is. So yeah, this is, I'm really starting to convert towards Gecko Terminal. It seems much more accurate. So this is the PLP to the ecosystem that you've created, NRG. So part of that. So there's so many different ecosystems that we can learn from. So Stewie as well, if you want to put your Telegram chat in the description, people can come and learn from you as well. And I would encourage everyone to just learn from multiple different sources. And that's the way that I learn personally. I need to listen to it many times. I need to do it for myself, and then the penny really starts to drop. I don't have the type of brain where I just hear it once, someone talks about it, or I read the words once and it's like, oh, I get it now. I'm not that smart. Maybe there's people that are, but I need to really do it in a multiple different kinds of ways. So,
and you know the best thing is, literally that is all just the tokens in the PLP itself. So because that's just against Pulse. Pulse never really went up. That's just the tokens inside the pool itself that went up.
Right.
You know, because that would be DAI and USDC. So those tokens went up versus Pulse in the pool. And that pool when I started that pool, there was only a couple $100.
And what I want to do is I want to just bring this particular pair onto Gecko Terminal as well, because I think I'm like I've said a few times, I'm almost thinking it's time to convert over to here. I mean, okay, look how much more accurate this is. So when you're on deck screen, it doesn't show the volume, doesn't show the liquidity, because it's not, for some reason, deck screen is not able to like pick up all that information. But then when you bring it over to here on Gecko Terminal, the same pool, it's telling a different story. So there's nearly $1,000 of liquidity in there, and this is just from Stu starting this pool on his own. And it has $4 of volume flowing through it in 24 hours. Go on, sorry, Stu?
And basically all the tokens that I have associated with these are all burned. Everything's at least 50 to 75% burned. So the only one that really holds tokens are, I think, my Forever wallet, the Dev wallet, and my Liquidity wallet, which essentially when things come and go, I just kind of pair stuff out as it comes and goes. Basically, if things are, as Maria makes new things, essentially too, I pair them off. So eventually we're going to get to a point where I don't have any more coins other than what I'm going to hold in my Forever wallet. Essentially, what I've done with Stu as well, I only hold 5% of that, and that's essentially that. Everything else is an LP. But the math is there, man. It's awesome. These charts don't have to do anything. They don't need any traders. They basically just rely on the system to just do its job.
And yeah, the LAU system now as well is really like, it kind of has the attention of Maria. Well, it does have the attention of Maria. It has the attention of a lot of people who are interested in this type of concept as well. So if you really want to learn, go have a look at some of the LAU videos, and also like just to hammer this point home and deliver it in a slightly different way. So again, the beauty of this is like, I don't even want to show this to you. I'm not showing you this to buy this token. In fact, I just want to show you the process of what's happening. I've been selling this token down, and it keeps going up due to the pools that it's bonded with. So I experiment with how much I can sell it down, how much is in liquidity. I'm just experimenting with all the different ways of doing this. So I'm learning different things and tracking the numbers. So I'll just show you. I think I turned this off dark mode. I'm just been tracking the numbers. So I started with, okay, so this is the liquidity. I started with 9,100 liquidity, but in actuality, it's more like 4,550. So I would have taken like $4,550 dollars worth of Atropa tokens, Dysnomia tokens, other people's tokens, and bonded it with Coexistence Steven. So then it creates, that's where that's why the liquidity metric is like kind of this, it's still also a little bit of a fake number. So it's basically just now created 4,500 extra liquidity from my tokens, which were worth like essentially really nothing. And then what I've done is I've experimented. Okay, I'm creating liquidity pools. So here I've started with 157. How much am I selling it down each day? And I'm just watching it over time. So in the space of, so the 15th is when I started creating it. It's the 29th. So in 2 weeks, it's gone up from $9,000 in liquidity to $37,000 just by minting tokens, buying into the liquidity pools, and adding it into liquidity. I mean, I'm tracking how many liquidity pools there are. I'm doing different strategies with different tokens. Okay, so these ones I'm not doing any buying. I'm just liquidity bonding them and seeing how much percentage I bond them with, how much does it move. So I'm really just like, I'm just trying to learn, because I feel like if I learn this now, this is a skill that's like a forever skill. With if this guy, the former World Bank guy, is saying like the future is decentralized finance, I want to be someone who's all over that now, while it's really being like revolutionized on Pulse Chain. I mean, those are pretty good numbers. I want to show this, so it's like, numbers get people excited. When people see those numbers, it's like, oh, holy shit. And I also am like, oh, holy shit, that's cool. The tokens in there are going up in value. So the Atropa is going up, the teddy bear is going up. I mean, that's why we've started to have this big spike around about here, where the numbers are really starting to go up. But still, it's good to see this. And then I've got Bayfection. So Bayfection is going to be my that's going to be the masterpiece eventually, I hope. So yeah, so I also wanted to add to that with that. So just so people can get an idea of kind of what we're talking about with the number, like, you know, number go up is the easiest thing for people to understand, but really to just break out of the idea of just looking at individual charts and the chart going up in value and start to really think from the perspective of liquidity and liquidity providing. So yes, anyone else want to add anything before we kind of, I feel like anything on the Atropa, anything on Maria, anything on liquidity providing before we've been going for a couple of hours here. So
one thing, Steve, I just wanted to say, I think we can all say how much we do appreciate having you in this ecosystem. And, you know, you're our voice on YouTube, and, you know, you do a lot for this space. And I just want to say I appreciate you, and I'm sure a lot of others do too.
That's very sweet. Thanks, Stu. And I appreciate that. And honestly, it's like, I love this so much. I love talking about these things, and I love, like, the community is a community that I feel has this mindset that is like, let's win together. So for me, it's like, I appreciate that you appreciate me, but I absolutely love all of you guys. Like, I'm learning off you guys, and everyone thinks that I'm like the smart one because I'm the one that's actually talking about it on YouTube, but I'm just delivering all the stuff that you guys are talking about. It's awesome. So I appreciate that, Stu. But again, I really see us as like this one cohesive whole, and I'm just the one that happens to be the one that's like talking about it on YouTube. So thank you, Stu. But yeah, thank you to you as well for being someone who encourages me to actually want to explore these things more and more. And like, if I wasn't seeing you guys do it, I wouldn't be doing it myself. So yeah, thanks, Stu.
No problem. I'm glad I can have that effect. That means a lot to me as well to hear that.
Yeah, man. Anyone else would like to add anything before we wrap this up?
I'll just add real quick, Stephen. I remembered maybe the reason I was familiar. You and I had a conversation via Twitter messaging months ago.
Okay.
Maybe that's why it's familiar. I believe it was over the Atropa system when we communicated. In closing, I do appreciate your streams. I appreciate all the work that you guys do, and the amount of alpha that you can get, even in this, you know, being able to create an LP and Sonny's assistance with that, that's invaluable information. I would encourage everyone to learn the difference between allodial title and feudal title. Look at the work that David Rogers Webb put out, The Great Taking. Get your mind around that. There's like an hour presentation that he put together. And then when you grasp that, you'll fully understand the power of blockchain, decentralized blockchains, and the fact that you'll own your assets. That's the future of banking, is these blockchains, but it's also the future in property ownership is going to go to, I believe, to NFTs, to smart contracts. Everything will be done on these chains, and you're only helping yourself by becoming familiar. So this is the only stream I've ever done, and I might come back in 5 years and maybe do another, but I appreciate you having an open forum for guys to pop in.
Hey,
yeah,
Bud, nice to have you, buddy. That's awesome to hear.
Bud, if you can send me a DM on Twitter as well. So if we've had a conversation, I have a lot of people in my DM. So please send me a message. And then even you mentioned David Rogers Waters or something like this.
David Rogers Webb.
David Rogers.
There's a video presentation about the Great Taking. So in America, a lot of people think that they actually own the stocks. You don't. Your stocks are held by the DTCC. You have a certificate of ownership the same way as in America when you put money in the bank. If the bank goes under, you're the last one to get paid if you have more in than what's protected by the FDIC, right? So being able to invest in a place where you maintain ownership of your assets is hypercritical these days. It's really something I encourage everyone to learn the difference between allodial title and feudal title.
Awesome. Oh, I want to put that in the link to the description. Once I finish this stream, I'll find some of those resources and put it here. But again, yeah, if you can just send me a DM on Twitter as well, Bud, so I can kind of put a Twitter name to your face, I'd really appreciate that, because I know that people in the comments, I've been watching the comments, everyone's really loving your perspective as well. So yeah, the Atropa movement's always an open forum. So please come back. Definitely, I've definitely appreciated your perspective a lot.
Yeah, I'll send you a message right now.
Awesome. Sunny, Maddie, anything you guys want to add to wrap things up?
Yeah, I'll kind of address this last thing in the chat here that someone just put, because it comes up a lot. It's, I've got X amount, where should I put it? And if you can't answer that question yourself, then just know that this probably isn't your cycle. Like, you hear a lot of stories of people making a lot of money, and you see all of us up here kind of being successful, but you know, we've been in this chain for a year and a half. I've got 200,000 transactions that I've done on this chain. Like, we're deep in it. And the answer to where should you put your money, my answer anyway, is you go to Pulse X, you pull up that farm tab, and you try and equally put $10, $5 on each side, into every single farm there. And you write down your token counts, and you don't really pay attention so much to the dollars, but it's nice because the dollars are there too. They'll show you. But you'll then have maybe 8, I don't know how many pools are there. However many pools that is, they're all different. They all act differently. They'll all be worth different values. Tomorrow, every block, you'll see your ink come in, and you can really get a grasp on the difference between pairing something like Pulse with Pulse X, or Pulse with Hex, or Pulse with a stable coin, or Pulse with ink, right? It's the most basic lesson in liquidity you'll ever get. And then you can start to go and look in these other pools that we're all pretty deep in. But without the education, the money's worthless.
Awesome. Thank you, Sunny. Maddie?
And since we have a lot of LP talk now, I give you some tinfoil hat talk now before we end.
Yes.
Some speculative, absolutely weird stuff. Wrapped ETH is paired with Pulse, no? 1-to-1. What does it mean for the future? Question mark. Think about that one. Everything goes to parity. Might be the major one too. The layer 1. No financial advice.
Yeah. There you go. Something to think about for everyone. Something to think about in this whole stream, I think, for everyone. I've really enjoyed this stream, guys. Thank you so much for coming on. I've also learned a lot. I feel like we've shared some really good information and answered a lot of questions that I get repeatedly about creating liquidity pools and impermanent loss. And I feel like the more that you watch these things, the more that you dip your toes in, the more that you'll learn for yourself. And if you really think about this from the perspective of the long term, I'm always trying to emulate the mindset of the best people on the planet. And Richard Hart is one of those people. He has an accepting mind. His mind adapts and changes with the conditions of the world. He's trying to help as many people as possible. He's trying to save as many people as possible. He's trying to make the world a better place. That's the type of person that I want to be. And it's like, do I just want to look at this as like, okay, when's my Pulse chain going to get to $1? Or do I want to look at this like I could be the Rothschild, but an actually good person of this new financial system? So yeah, I challenge you guys to really think about your mindset and what it means for the future of the financial world and your future and what you can actually do for the world. So with that, thanks very much, lads. I'll end the stream. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining. Thank you for all the comments. I couldn't answer everything, but thank you. Really appreciate it. I have been reading everything. So take care, everybody, and enjoy your weekend.
Peace out.